Hey guys, this is Joshua Seth, voice of Ty on Digimon, and you're listening to Anime Secrets.
Jedi Squadron is a podcast run by the Anime Secrets website. Check us out at animesecrets.org for more anime, video game, tokusatsu, and now Star Wars content. Remember to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts today.
Hello, new Padawans, and welcome to the Jedi Squadron podcast. Here, you will be taking lessons in the many pieces of the Star Wars universe, whether it be the movies, animated series, video games, comics, and etc. This is your training into becoming a Star Wars fan as part of the Jedi Squadron. May your training go well, and may the Force be with you, young Padawans. Welcome back, everyone, to the Jedi Squadron podcast presented by AnimeSecrets.org. And today, Riz and I, we are here to take a look at the latest edition into the Star Wars animated universe. For the second year in a row, we have a new Tales series. We got Tales of the Jedi in 2022. Last year in 2024, we got Tales of the Empire. And today, we have we're going to be taking a look at Tales of the Underworld, which came out May the 4th of this year in 2025. So in Tales of the Jedi, we had 6 episodes, 3 revolving around Count Dooku and his origins, and 3 revolving around Ahsoka. And then in Tales of the Empire, we got 3 episodes revolving around Morgan Elsbeth, and then 3 revolving around Vera Sophie. So in the case of Tales of the Underworld, today we're getting 3 episodes revolving around some of our favorite Clone Wars characters, Asajj, Ventress, and Cad Bane. So yeah, we're going to be taking a look at all these episodes, giving our overall thoughts. Also, I'm thinking, we'll probably give tier rankings to these arcs. Just to bring that up as well. And also, we are going to be briefly touching upon what we want to see for our next Tale series. So yeah, I think we're going to have a lot of fun today.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yep.
I have ideas for the next Tale series after this one.
Yep. But with that said, we kick off with the Asajj Ventress arc. So we have our first episode, a walk forward. Just to kind of give a warning, just a bit of a forewarning here. I didn't really catch many Easter eggs personally from what I saw. Because from the comics or anything. If I'm missing stuff, you guys can feel free to list it in the comments. But there is this one Easter egg I, of course, want to mention. So our first episode of Way Forward actually kicks off within the final scene of the book Dark Disciple, which, as I've said on multiple occasions, was a book that was adapted from storyboards and some original ideas for a Clone Wars arc that never got produced. So it's the final scene where Asajj Ventress, to cut a long story short, she was killed as part of a failed plot from the Jedi where she and Quinlan Vos were trying to assassinate Count Dooku, and she ended up getting killed. And the final scene is from that book is Quinlan Vos accompanied by Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan was kind of supporting Quinlan Vos in that operation. They take Asajj Ventress to death and near to lay her to rest in the pool that we've seen the Night Sisters have, and then she gets laid to rest. And while the book ends as she's lying in the pool, this episode actually kind of picks up immediately at that point where Mother Talzin offers her a chance to be revived, although with at the cost of her personal desires. And so she gets revived by Mother Talzin. And then we cut a little bit later during the dark times. So this is I want to say it's probably within like maybe 5 years within the Empire's times, because we see that they no longer have clones because we have stormtroopers depicted here, but they're still using, as we'll see in the next episode, they're still using LAAT gunships, which was a Clone Wars era ship. And their Star Destroyers still appear to be Venator class as opposed to the Imperial class and Victory class Star Destroyers that we see in the original trilogy. So probably roughly like maybe within like the first 5, maybe 10 years of the Empire. It's unspecified, but that's what we can speculate on. But Ventress has gotten a job as a bouncer at a local ticket agency. And she encounters this young Jedi who's a little kid named Lyko. He's on the run. He's trying to find the path being a something that was established, I believe. I remember first seeing it in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So yeah, that's when it was basically a path for any Jedi that survived to like escape to safe haven. And Ventress helps Lyco escape from the Empire, and she has to fight off an Inquisitor. But that's the basic gist of a way forward. So yeah, Riz, what do we think about this one?
I think it was very interesting. Kind of seeing more of the Jedi who survived Order 66 and how they were going towards the path to try and get to safety and to get to a sanctuary type of place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also very striking to see Asajj in this way. And I haven't read the Dark Disciple novel, obviously, but I know the story at a very broad stroke level. Like I know broadly what happens and what is the end result. I mean, obviously the end result is Obi-Wan and Quinn bringing her to the lake and putting her not in the lake but the water.
Yeah.
But even then, like, I didn't expect her to be so. She seemed a bit more at peace than in the past, and I like that.
Yeah, but I think the issue I have is that okay, I get why they had to take this route because you brought back Asajj Ventress for Bad Batch season 3, which I mean, of course that does beg the question on why you brought her back to begin with, but you have to give an explanation on why she's still alive, and I can appreciate how they start off the episode with her you know, with her being laid to rest by Quinlan and Obi-Wan. But honestly, uh, and I'll go into more thoughts on the whole arc with Lyco in the next 2 episodes. But
Yeah,
I kind of wish that I, I kind of wish that you had the first episode be like a rough, you know, like very slightly abridged version of the Dark Disciple episode because the issue that I have here is that like we net if you go back to the Clone Wars series, okay, we saw Quinlan do his thing in some Clone Wars arcs, but people would be confused if they were just watching this without having read the book because Quinlan and Asajj Ventress never really had any moments together
yeah.
prior in the Clone Wars. So people are going to be confused as to why all of a sudden Asajj Ventress is in love with Quinlan, which okay, you can say read the books all you want, but some fans just don't want to read the books. That's just the harsh reality.
Well,
So
I mean, most fans don't even want to watch the animated TV shows. I mean,
yeah.
but
So it so I feel like it's crucial that like you could have had like at least one episode kind of giving us an abridged version of Quinlan and Asajj going through their training and then having her ultimately get killed. And I don't know if they're under some type of mandate to like have these things under 20 minutes or something, but you could at least have requested for this one exception where you give us like a 30-minute episode revolving around that and then have the episode end with how this episode begins, where Quinlan and Obi-Wan take her to the pool, they lay her to rest, and then she gets revived. Um, and from there, I'll give my thoughts more on the Litho stuff in the next few episodes. But I just feel that the way that it kicks off, it's going to leave a lot of fans confused. Because sure, Riz, you and I have no problem reading the books, but
Yeah.
like you said, some people don't even want to watch the animated TV shows, let alone read the
Yeah.
books.
But
So
I
it's going
mean,
to leave people confused.
with this one, I think maybe I'm wrong because again, I haven't read Dark Disciples and I don't know all of the books out there, but I'm kind of wondering if they opened the door here to integrate in some more of Asajj's backstory with Dark Disciples and Sons of Dathomir in the Darth Maul TV set that's coming out in the future.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that. I mean,
I mean, it's possible that they're just opening the door here.
yeah, possible. Or I don't know, maybe you could do like a honestly, I wouldn't mind like a live action adaptation of Dark Disciple because I mean, because from what I know, like Dark Disciple was made of what was supposed to be a 6 episodes of the Clone Wars series. So I don't know, just give us a live action adaptation because a lot of people want to see Quinlan Voss in live action.
Oh yeah.
We were supposed to see him in one scene of Revenge of the Sith, but it got cut. But
I
you
mean,
know, and yeah.
the other thing you could also do, it's wide open. So I know people are clamoring for a season 2 of the Obi-Wan TV show.
Hmm.
You could have a season 2 not be a sequel, but just be another point in time in his life and have the story unfold from his point of view.
Actually, yeah, that would be great. Granted, I don't know who you could get to play Quinlan Voss. That's kind of up in the air, but I would definitely like. Granted, there's just a bit of recency bias since her career's been taking off recently, but I would love to see Cynthia Evero or Revo, the woman who played Alphabon Wicked, play Asajj Ventress because I think she could play that role really good. And
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
I don't think
what's
Filoni's ever done wrong with how he does his casting either. I mean, Rosario Dawson's a really good Ahsoka.
yeah.
She's no Ashley Eccleston, but still, she's pretty dang awesome in her own right.
Hmm.
So, I mean, there is, I have faith in him to cast the right person for the job.
Yeah. Although this would like if we did have Obi-Wan, it would like you could probably get Hayden Christensen back for a brief cameo. You couldn't bring Ahsoka in though, because this Dark Disciple arc takes place like shortly before the Siege of Mandalore arc. So Ahsoka is still for I mean, at this point she's probably just screwing around with the Martez sisters. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably my big gripe with it. Plus, the other issue that I have is that I have to wonder, like, why why did Asajj Ventress want to come back? Because she said that like she can be revived, but she has to give up her heart's desire. Like, okay, but then what's the point of coming back to life then? Like if she was being brought back to life so she could have a chance to be with Quinlan, I would have been all for that. But you're coming back and you're not even trying to be with Quinlan, so what's the point of being revived? Like this is a little confusing to me.
I think, I don't know all of the backstory on what happened prior, but could it be a fear of death?
That's possible, and I'd be sympathetic to that. I just wish that they established that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know the backstory, so I'm just kind of spitballing here. And to me, given Asajj's character is the way she is, to me, it makes sense to say, hey, she is afraid of death and afraid of dying, so she gave up this big price to come back just to avoid dying.
Honestly, I would have liked it more, and you could probably argue that this is how it is, given what she does with Lyco. Maybe it's the possibility that she feels that she did so much wrong when she was Dooku's apprentice that she wants to atone for her sins. And if that's the case, I'd be a lot more sympathetic to that. I just kind of wish that it was a bit more. You don't have to like literally like broadcast it in big neon letters, but
Yeah.
just kind of make it.
just kind of lay the signs a bit more there to where the audience can kind of tell that this is what she wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem here, honestly, is I don't think a single episode in this batch went beyond 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I think had they been given the leeway to have 20, 21-minute episodes, maybe a half an hour per episode, we could have fleshed out more of the story. Because I definitely see things with the Asajj Ventress story that, we could have done more with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and when we get to the next episodes, I have other comments that I kind of wish had been given more limelight.
Yeah. But I would still I mean, I probably, with the issues that I have, and my score's probably going to go up for the next two, but just with how this is structured and what I kind of wish that they did instead, I kind of wish that I would probably say that this is like a 7, honestly. Like
Yeah.
it's got some good stuff, and I I have to admit, I kind of had a bit of a fanboy moment when I saw the beginning, where I got to see the ending of the Dark Disciple arc brought to life. But I just feel like, I mean, if I'm watching this from the perspective of someone who never watched Dark Disciple, then I'm going to be confused as to why all of a sudden Asajj Ventress is in love with this Jedi that she never had any screen time with in the original Clone Wars show. And then I'm confused as to what her perspective is on why she wants to come back to life, how she was killed in the first place. It I just feel like like you probably would have been better off giving us an episode dedicated entirely to her meeting Lyco next time, and have this revolve more around her having a relationship with Quinlan and getting killed, like a slightly abridged version of at least the second half of the Dark Disciple arc. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger question that made me pause the episode was I had to go back and remember, when did she even die? Because if you're just watching the animated TV show, you don't know that she died per se. Like,
Hmm.
she's alive at the end of Clone Wars, she's alive in the Bad Batch. So to see her being revived was my first question to be like, okay, hang on. This is part of Dark Disciple. And so I had to do a quick Google to get the broad strokes of what's going on to understand it.
Yeah. So I think 7 is probably the best one.
Yeah.
Okay. We can move on to the next episode of this Ventress arc called Friends, where Ventress, she enlists the help of an old bounty hunter friend, Lots Razi, a recurring character during some of her story arcs in the Clone Wars series. She wants to help Lyco find the path. She and Lyco try to help Lots Razi and her droid Heisinger infiltrate an Imperial base to steal this valuable piece of equipment. The plan goes awry. Razi turns on the two and tries to turn them into the Empire, but Ventress outsmarts her. They get the intel, and then they head over to where they can find the path. And Lyco realizes that he can trust Ventress, because he was originally hesitant to trust her because he found out who she was, and Rozzy was trying to kind of get into his head as well. So pretty standard, but pretty enjoyable. What do we think about Friends?
I I have questions on, so did you catch the kid's name in this episode at all?
He named himself like I think he introduced himself as Lyco to Lots Rozzy in this episode. We didn't find out his name in the previous episode.
Okay. Because I didn't catch his name until much later. I think in episode 3 is when I started catching it.
Yeah.
It just seemed like a very subtle thing that they kind of brought up. And I was like, okay, could we just know his name?
Hmm.
But uh, he's. It would have been better to have given him more connection to the grander story somewhere.
Hmm.
Like being a random Jedi okay, cool, he survived, but I don't care. I don't want him like in the movies or in the TV show, but like at least say his Jedi master was so and so,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I was thinking that too, because that's one thing I really loved about Kanan when I first read about him. Like they specifically say that his Jedi Master was Dapa Balaba, and it's like, oh, yeah, I remember her from
yeah,
episode one, and I know who Dapa Balaba is, so you could say that maybe he's the apprentice of maybe Ayla Sakura, since she was a Jedi Master but not on the council,
yeah. I
or
mean
something like that.
something, and how he survived Order 66. What did he have to do to survive? Having some flashbacks to kind of talk about his life prior to this moment would have been great.
Hmm.
This is my biggest complaint with the arc is more. This is a bigger complaint to me than even the Assad stuff because with the Assad stuff I can go read a book, but with Lyco, there's no reading a book. There's no other media that I can find him in to explain who he is, where he come from, and why is he alive. Like what
Yeah.
separated him out from the other Padawan learners that died? What did he do differently? Did he was he just not there? Was he in the bathroom? Was he just spared because the troopers didn't want to kill him? Like, what happened? Something happened, but it'd be nice to have seen it so we could
Yeah,
understand more
like
of him.
I mean, a lot of people. I mean, we kind of get this a little bit in the Bad Batch. They kind of established that, but maybe you could have established that he was on like okay, maybe not. He was specifically Plo Koon's apprentice because Plo Koon was on the council, so I don't think he could have had an apprentice. But uh,
Obi Wan had an
I-
apprentice.
well, yeah, but not when he was. By the time he was on the council, Anakin
Yeah,
wasn't his apprentice anymore.
that's true.
Um, No, but maybe like he was on Cato Nemoidia. I assume that Cato Nemoidia was where Wolf was because people try to wonder like, did Wolf execute Order 66? Because he's with Rex later on in Rebels. So maybe you could have established maybe he was on Cato Nemoidia with another Jedi Master. And then maybe Wolf briefly hesitated in the same way that Rex did,
Yeah,
um, and that's how he survives. I mean, because
it'd be
that would have been
something.
a great way to answer fans on like how did Wolf do Order 66? Because we see him serving the Empire during the Bad Batch season 3, but then we can later assume that he doubted what the Empire was doing and he joined
Yeah,
Rex. But would have been cool to see how Wolf initially reacted, and you could have used Light Go as a way to establish that.
agreed. But taking that to the side, I think Lyco's a fun character. He reminds me a lot of Ezra.
Hmm.
Kind of, arrogant, kind of confident in himself, even though he has no right being confident in himself. I think he's a fun character. I just wanted to know who the heck he was and why is he, you know, able to survive Order 66. Because I think his relationship with Ventress is really awesome actually. It kind of feeds into that. It helps to humanize Ventress more because when you first meet her in the series, when she's a ticket person or whatever, she's kind of subdued and lacking in purpose, I feel like.
Uh-huh.
But with Lyco, I feel like she gets some purpose by helping him.
Yeah.
And that's because he's so outgoing that he draws out the better of her.
Yeah, the thing is, I do like what they're doing here, and I'll give more thoughts when we get into the next episode.
Yeah,
I feel like Lyco is a really good character, and I also kind of like how I mean, the only thing I would say is that I kind of wish that his lightsaber was yellow instead of blue, because the way that like he's able to like, he's a bit more mechanically inclined with knowing how ships work and doing all like the technical stuff. That gives me the vibes that he's more of a Jedi Sentinel. For those who don't know that, Jedi Sentinels are the types of Jedi that tend to balance between combat and the force, and they also like to, develop side skills like skills with computers, working on droids, and etc. And a yellow lightsaber is indicative of a Jedi Sentinel. So, but that's just a minor gripe. And granted, I don't know if canon follows those types of like color codes or anything, so it's not a huge deal. But at the same time, yeah, it's cool that Lyco kind of exhibits those Jedi Sentinel type of traits.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Um, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like as much as I kind of, and I'll go into more detail in it after we do the next one, and then we talk about this whole arc. As much as there are things that I wish that they did differently with it, you could do a whole lot worse than what they did with Lyco. So it's perfectly fine, and I'm probably I don't want to. Well, actually, no. The more I think about it, I think this deserves a 9. I don't think I can give it a 10 or
Yeah.
anything, but a 9 is good enough.
No, it's definitely a 9. I can see that.
Yeah. Did you want to add anything else?
No, I think we should wait until the next episode to kind of give final
Okay.
thoughts on this. So let's go on.
Yep. All right. We're wrapping up the Ventress arc with one warrior to another, where the two are trying to find a path. We don't know what planet it is, but it's a desert planet, and they encounter this old man who was he was part of the separatists. I don't know if you could call him a separatist veteran, because I mean the separatists didn't have any humans fighting in their army, but at least maybe like a senator or a big part of like the separatist council or something. And um, they encounter they encounter this group of alien raiders, and they help the old man and the raiders resolve this dispute over water. And during this whole thing, Ventress declares that Lyco is her friend. She didn't want to do that before, and she helps him find a transport to the path for the safe haven for Jedi. And then she says goodbye. She says, "May the force be with you." And then she tries to leave, but then Lyco is all like, "You know what? I think I'm better off with you." And they venture off together into further adventures. And that's how the Ventress arc ends. So we could talk about this episode and then talk about the overall arc. But what do we think about the episode?
I think this is a great episode to kind of bring it home with, you know, they get to the path and Assad kind of gets reminders of her past life and, what she could be doing versus what she is doing. And I think it's a very interesting moment for her in that, hey, I helped this kid get where he needs to be. And the kid ends up choosing her as where he wants to be over his own people.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about her and how much she's grown as a person.
Yeah. I can definitely agree with that. I The thing is that the way that the episode ends with her and Lyco forming this weird friendship, like, here's the thing, there are issues that I found with this, and I'll go into more detail when we talk about the arc, but the two's genuine relationship does kind of like it's very touching when you see just how vicious and kind of almost pure evil Asajj Ventress was in the early days of the Clone Wars. So it honestly is kind of wholesome to see that she's kind of got more of a soft spot. And who knows? I mean, I honestly would like if they decided that they wanted to do like a live action Asajj Ventress series, like again, get Cynthia Evero, because I really like her. I really like the prospect of her being Asajj Ventress, but like get someone to play Asajj Ventress, and then get a new child to play Lyco. Just give us a series revolving around their adventures together, because I honestly would love to see that.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. I think we need more. And I mean, you could even have a follow on series at some point with just these two kind of like doing their own thing.
Yeah, or potentially you could have Lyco appear as an adult later in Ahsoka season 2. Because Riz, you were talking about how like you thought that there's a prospect that like Omega could show up in Ahsoka
Yeah.
season two. We didn't say that on the podcast, but you mentioned that in a call that we had after season two of Bad Batch ended. Like, I feel like you could set up Lyco appearing there too.
I mean, like that's what I'm saying. Like could appear. Asajj could even appear.
Yeah,
She's not that old, and she's already cheated death once. So I mean, what does the rules even mean anymore?
yeah. Plus, I mean, the Bad Batch season three is roughly around like, I mean, we got 20 years roughly before A New Hope happens. And by the time Ahsoka happens, she would probably be a lot older. But then again, I don't know what the lifespan is for her species. But the prospect of her still being alive is definitely on the table.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there's a lot you can do here.
I kind of wish to kind of segue into the overall arc. I do like what Asajj Ventress's relationship is with Lyco, and that's why I don't want to like rank this whole thing too low. I just kind of wish that we got a little bit more closure with her and Quinlan, because I mean the because if you read Dark Disciple, you'll actually find that they do form like a genuinely like close relationship, and it's very powerful. Like that's one of the reasons why I love the book so much. I
Yeah.
kind of wish that we got a little bit more closure with her. I get that she doesn't want to see Quinlan, but at the same time, it's like, why? I mean,
Yeah.
you you have a good you had like you fell in love with them, like, could we at least get some closure, or maybe have like one episode like like you could have had the first episode revolve around that, and then maybe have the second episode revolve around her actually helping like go find the path, and then somehow maybe like Quinlan gets involved in there, and who knows, maybe you could even establish that like Lyco used to be Quinlan's apprentice, and Quinlan gets killed trying to protect Lyco from an Inquisitor that is able to find the path, and then Asajj avenges Quinlan by defeating the Inquisitor, and then she decides, I'm going to take up Lyco to be my apprentice and finish what Quinlan started to honor the man I love, or something
Yeah.
like that. Like, there's you could fit Quinlan in there without abandoning Lyco completely, and what they do is perfectly fine. I just wish that Quinlan had a little bit more of a role outside of just appearing at the beginning of the first episode.
Well, it needs more exposé to explain what happened to lead to this beginning,
Yeah.
and that's the problem here. I mean, I can let go of my complaint about um Lyco not having more of an in-depth backstory and just chalk it up to rando kid who survived. But you can't throw an audience into something without giving some kind of background on the main character of the arc and how
Yeah.
she died and how she's come back to life. Like you needed some, even like a couple of throwaway lines would have helped.
hmm I plus, I kind of just want to see what happened to Quinlan before the Galactic Civil War, because all we know is that he survived and created the path, but maybe
Yeah.
you could have given some closure there. So, I mean, Quinlan definitely needed to be more in this arc than he actually was.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I would probably give ultimately the this episode a 9 as well, just because I really like that ending. But the overall arc, I would probably say is a B tier arc. Like I would probably have it. Okay, so when it comes to the other arcs, I mean the Dooku arc S tier, like S S S S S S S S S S S S plus tier, like that.
Yeah.
Like that's how amazing the Dooku arc is. Ahsoka probably low A, high B tier. Morgan Elsbeth probably C tier because I wasn't a big fan of her character. Barriss Ophi, high A, maybe low S tier. I would probably have this ranked ahead of the Ahsoka uh arc, just because the Ahsoka arc, it was great, but it created a bit of a continuity mess with the last episode in comparison with the Ahsoka novel, and Also, it's really just nothing more than just seeing Ahsoka being herself, which is cool,
Yeah.
but it doesn't do much to further it. This at least furthers Asajj Ventress's character to some degree. So it's nowhere near the level of Dooku's arc. I would say it's possibly on par with what we got with Barriss Ophi, but I definitely think it's better than the Ahsoka and Morgan Elsbeth arcs.
I would agree that I'd probably throw this into A tier category. Um, yeah, because I think Barriss Ophi did much better here because we need a character. We had background, we understood where she's coming from, and they tied it in so well. But they don't really tie us into the book all that. I mean, they tie it into the book really well, I'm assuming, but not something you can easily get into if you haven't been if you haven't read the books.
Yeah, definitely. And
Yeah.
I get why they kind of went this route because you revived Asajj Ventress for Bad Batch season 3, so you kind of have to give fans an in-universe perspective on why she's still alive. So I get why they did it. And some people are complaining that like, oh well, I mean, what was the point of her even dying to begin with? And I don't think that it's that big of a deal because I kind of interpreted more as Asajj Ventress did some horrible things, and she was ultimately not able to atone for anything because what she tried to do with Dooku ultimately failed, and now this is another chance for she's getting another chance at life, and she's kind of doing something much better for a change. So I think it works decently enough. I can see where people are coming from, saying that her dying and then coming back to life just feels like a real cheap cop out. But I
Yeah.
personally disagree with it.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, now let's move on to the Cat Bane arc. Starting off with the episode "The Good Life," we flashback to many years in the past, obviously prior to the Clone Wars, way prior to the Clone Wars, where we have two young and orphan Doros children named Colby and Nero. They're living on the streets. They're taking whatever food they can find, even stealing at times. They pull off this swindle with a droid, which impresses a mysterious businessman who's kind of a mafia like crime boss. His name is Laszlo. We don't find out his name until the next episode, but he's impressed by their swindling skills, and he gives them some money, and they use it to buy food. Then he hires them to help in this big robbing scheme where they're going to be robbing a casino. They get traumatized by the owner being killed, and Nero gets caught by the police when they're trying to evade. But then Colby escapes, and he's basically welcomed into this new mafia because this is his new life. What do we think about this episode?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. Though this is a me problem, not a problem with the TV stuff, but I do want to say until the end of the episode, I was unclear on Cad Bane's like who was Cad Bane because the kids I didn't really catch on to him being a kid. I was hoping it'd be a kid, but when I saw the older guy paying them and trying to train him, I thought, oh god, no, we have Cad Bane at some point later in his life, kind of dealing with these kids. But then I was really happy to see, okay, no, this is Cad Bane as a kid, and we're seeing his origin story. So I was really excited for that, and I loved it.
Yeah, definitely. I do feel I mean, first of all, I probably figured that he was gonna be a kid, and I figured that the older guy was gonna be I don't know, I could honestly tell that he was going to be a kid from the starting gate, and it was going to be kind of like what happens at the beginning of the third Indiana Jones movie, where we see Indiana Jones as a kid, and we see this older guy dressed up in an outfit similar to what Indiana Jones wears, and then he gets the hat from the guy, and then starts kind of wearing an outfit similar to the guy because he inspired him. So I kind of figured, okay, Cad Bane is one of the kids, and he's very likely the one, like, because they distinguish them where Nero has more of like a greenish blue skin, while Bane is just straight up blue. So I figured, okay, yeah, that's Cad Bane because he's more of a blue skin Duros. And this Laszlo guy is going to be like the guy that inspires him to be a crime boss. So I kind of figured that from the starting gate. But honestly, this episode actually really did kind of get me hooked because I was very skeptical of the Cad Bane arc because I just figured, yeah, Cad Bane, he's just a scum bounty hunter. He does some stupid stuff and then he gets killed by Boba Fett in a really unspectacular fashion in the book of Boba Fett. So like, is this really necessary? But we get more backstory about how he was a guy living on the streets. People look down on him, and you actually kind of feel sorry for him at the end of the day. And that's why. And I actually got hooked with this first episode. Like, I was not expecting for the Cat Bane stuff to be better than the Asajj Ventress stuff, but it was still pretty cool. And I
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed this episode.
No, I think this is a great episode overall. Um, I think just it had all the right things in the beginning to kind of help set it up to give us the, you know, what is the word I'm looking for here? Like it set up everything perfectly to help us understand the backstory and origins of where this person comes from.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that they, that they they're gonna further on that story with Nero in the next two episodes, and we'll get to that when
Yeah,
we do. But yeah, I don't want to give this a 10, but it's definitely a 9 for me.
it's a 9. It's a 9.
Yeah. Um okay, now we can move on to the second episode of this arc, A Good Turn, where years later, Colby's a teenager, kind of a young adult. He's still part of Laszlo's gang. Laszlo gets killed on a mission on Colby's homeworld, actually, and he returns to home to find his killer. He gets reunited with Nero. Nero has since become a police officer, and Nero warns Colby not to do anything, but Colby doesn't listen, and he tries to go through with his plan to kill the marshal being the one who killed Laszlo. He declares himself as Cad Bane, and he ultimately gets arrested by Nero because he gets betrayed by his friend and lady love, who's also a Duros named Aaron, which is going to lead directly into the next episode. But we'll get to that when we get to it. What do we think about A Good Turn?
I think this was the turning point to make this into like the 10 out of 10 for me because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so one of two things will end up happening here. Cad will either lose the love of his life or he'll be forced to kill his best friend to save her life. And I'm not going to get into spoilers, but I'm kind of wrong and kind of right at the same time. And just the buildup of like the
Yeah, definitely.
emotions, I think they just really built the emotions really well here. And it was really just, for me, it pulled on the heartstrings a little bit, seeing them, two best friends hardened by the choices in life they made in that one moment of life where um, one escapes the cops, the other one gets caught by the cops, and how that defines their entire relationship and entire future, while keeping them so intertwined together throughout life.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I love how they didn't just just abandon Nero and just have him be like someone who was Cad Bane's friend. They instead have it to where they both went on very different paths of life. It's very deep stuff. It's not as deep as like what they do with the Count Dooku stuff, but it's still pretty good stuff. And
Yeah.
um granted, I don't know if they established where he got the name Cat Bane. I would have loved to have seen more of that, or heck, maybe even hold off until the next episode to like show where the name Cad Bane came from. But that's just a minor nitpick because the emotional depth in this episode is still very good.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of figured it was like a weird play on words at Colby, but I don't think so.
Yeah. And I don't feel tempted to give this one a 10 just because,
Yeah.
we see Cad Bane in a completely different light where, every time we've seen him before, he's just this soulless bounty hunter. He's doing terrible things. He's going after Jedi kids. So to see him actually, he had a really good friend that he cared about, and he had a woman that he loved. This is sort of Bane that I didn't think I wanted to see and didn't think could work, but leave it to Dave Filoni to prove me wrong.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, now we can wrap up this arc and also give our tier ranking on it after we're done with the final episode, One Good Deed. Uh, Not too long after the previous one, Bane has been released from prison on a technicality. He returns to his homeworld to get revenge on Nero. Nero had married Aaron. Aaron has passed away, but not before she gave birth to a child named Isaac. And we get Nero gets shot in a duel with Bane after a big shootout with Bane's thugs. And Bane is really and Bane is at first, content with seeing Nero dying because it's like you took the one thing in this world that I loved, and then Nero is all like, "Well, actually, I didn't," and that's when Bane realizes, "Oh shoot, Isaac
Yeah.
is my son," and he then looks over to Isaac as if to say, "Hey, you're my son," but then the Duros mayor shows up and says, "Nope, stay away from him," and that's when Bane has to walk away. He got his revenge on Nero, but he lost a lot more than he probably thought he would. And that is how this story ends. What do we think about this episode?
I I saw it coming that that was gonna be his kid, but I didn't want it to be his kid because I didn't want to have this kind of emotional weight on Cad Bane of all people. Like, I don't know. I kind of wanted Cad Bane to have remained like this one-dimensional evil villain that he'd been, not really villain, but like antagonist for the series proper throughout. But giving him this, a kid, it kind of taints, not really taints, but it makes him more human in a way that, hey, I lost something that I can never get back, even though it's right in front of me. And as far as I can tell, he never went back to get the kid or even tried to establish a relationship with the kid.
Yep.
And it would have been good if they had used the kid in the Book of Boba Fett TV show in that last bit to kind of have like a similar Jango Fett Boba Fett thing where Boba picks up the mantle after and becomes the next Cad Bane type thing.
Yeah, they definitely need to expand upon that in the comics or something. I would like to see because believe it or not, like they ended up adapting this into the Book of Boba Fett, but there was originally, and I don't know if it was adapted into a comic thing or if it was just one of those things that just never got adapted to another medium. But there was supposed to be a Clone Wars story arc where Boba Fett is now, I guess he's a teenager or he's kind of at that point where he's starting to look more and more like Tamura Morrison. But there was a big arc where like he gets into an encounter with Cad Bane and ultimately he kills Cad Bane. And they ended up adapting that, albeit in a much later time in the continuity in the Book of Boba Fett. So I feel like, now that we've established that Cad Bane is dead, you could give us a new series revolving around like Isaac, where maybe you can have it pick up immediately after Cad Bane is killed by Boba Fett. Have Isaac either take his father's ad and become a new bounty hunter, or revolve around like what he tried to do, like when he found out his father was killed or something. Like, you don't know, like I like what they do with that emotional depth, but I kind of feel like all of a sudden establishing that Cad Bane has a son when no other mediums established that before, this does kind of create a mess. But not to say that they can't clean it up, but it's going to take a little bit of work to do that.
Yeah, no, definitely. But no, I think this Cad Bane arc probably one of my favorite ones, if not. Well, okay. So the Barris Ophi one is my favorite of all of them, I think.
Oh,
But
really? Not the Dooku one?
Dooku one is another close favorite of mine. Like I I have a hard time deciding between those two because I love both characters after seeing everything they went through.
Yeah.
Um, with Barris Ophi, I feel like there's still more I can get out of her story though. With Dooku, it's like a done deal. I feel like there's not much more we can add. Like with another like you can't do another Tales of or like another reference to them in somewhere else. Like Dooku's story is basically done, but with Barris Ophi, there's still something there.
Yeah, definitely.
So
I
for me, that potential makes it more of a favorite for me because it gives me something more.
yeah, I can respect that.
Yeah,
I would probably say, I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this, and I mean, people, you can just go back and look at our previous podcast on May the 4th. Like, I was fully expecting the Asajj Ventress stuff to be to be the better arc here, to be the one that really grips me, and Cad Bane was just going to be like another one of those Morgan Elsbeth ones where it's all like, eh, I mean, okay, it's cool that it exists, but I'm not really into it. But no, I actually got really super into this. I did like Cad Bane as a character, but to now see that he has a little bit of emotional depth, and sure, it does create a bit of a mess, which is why I can't say that it's quite on par with the Dooku and Barriss Offee arcs, but I would still say it's probably like the third best. I would probably have it as a low A, high B tier. And if I'm gonna rank the arcs from like best to worst, I would say Dooku, then Barriss Offee, Cad Bane, Ventress, Ahsoka. Not to say that the Ahsoka arc is bad, because it's not. It's just pretty standard stuff. And then the Morgan Elspeth at dead last.
I would agree with that ranking, except I might swap Cad and Dooku a little bit. But
Oh, really?
I, I don't know. I think I'd have to rewatch the Dooku one again, but I think the Cad Bane really hit home for me harder than it might have hit home for you. I really enjoyed the Cad Bane stuff. But I also have not seen the Dooku arc in over a year. So maybe I gotta rewatch it again and see. But
Well,
I
it's just, and I kind of went into detail when we did our Tales series. Like the Count Dooku stuff really just kind of blew my mind when I first
yeah.
watched it. Like it was literally on par with like some of the Rebel season 3 and Clone Wars season 5 content that I've seen.
And
It
you
just
know,
really hit home to me.
the more you remind me of the Dooku stuff, I might agree with you still, but it's been so long that I can't remember all the details. But yeah, no, I think it's tough competition at the top with those three for me.
Yeah, that's pretty respectable. Although you
Yeah,
should definitely go back and rewatch that Dooku stuff.
I probably will because I think I know we're giving Ahsoka not as many accolades as like a series, like an arc, but that arc was pretty awesome for one or two things that it did do. It tied into Order 66 because it showed how she survived all of the 501st shooting at her. Because Anakin had been training for all this time, so I think that's a huge thing. But I think that's one thing. Like the other parts of it were not as strong to kind of counterbalance it to me. Um, Dooku, I think, was strong from the get go and all the way through. Like, there's never a moment where I was like, okay, Dooku's not great. Same with Barriss Ophi. Like, these three
Yeah.
at the top are just top tier, amazing writing for their respective things.
hmm
So, yeah, that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, overall, I would say that I honestly, I would technically have to say I think Tales of the Underworld is better than Tales of the Empire, because like I would have it be second best, because with Tales of the Jedi, even though I do kind of say that the Ahsoka stuff was simple, it's still Ahsoka. She's awesome. And then the Dooku arc is great. So that's obviously number one. This one, both of the story arcs had their great moments. Like I didn't love the Asajj Ventress stuff, but I liked it for what it is, and I loved the Cad Bane stuff. Whilst with Tales of the Empire, Barriss Sophie stuff, great. It's better than both of these story arcs, but the Morgan Elsbeth stuff is just eh, so the Barriss Ophi stuff is still technically better than both of these story arcs, but at least this one gave me two story arcs that I can kind of look at it and be like, yeah, they're both pretty satisfying. I enjoy them both.
Yeah.
So I would probably say, yeah, I would say overall Tales of the Underworld. I know some people are being a bit more critical of this one, and I get the criticisms, but I personally enjoyed it. I feel like this is a worthy addition to the Star Wars animated universe.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is a great entry. I think I agree with you that Tales of Jedi is probably better overall than the other two that come later, but this is a really good like second Underworld.
Yeah.
I would agree with what you said there.
But what I would like to well, first of all, I would probably give this overall series like an 8.5 out of 10. Possibly a 9. But yeah, I mean, it's it's kind of unfair to compare Tales series to other animated shows, like because they're shorter and the episode lengths aren't as much as like, the Clone Wars and Rebel series. But if I'm comparing it to the other Tales series, it's pretty good. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing more Tales series.
Yeah, me too.
Which, speaking of which, my two personal ones that I would love to see, Riz, you were saying like Tales of the Droids. That would obviously be great, but I would honestly love to see a Tales of the Republic one, maybe revolving around some clones. Like I would love to see, like I want to see some episodes revolving around clones that we didn't get to see as much. Like I would love to see a Tales series revolving around some of the clones that were a bit more like kind of like a Commander Neo or Commander Bakara, aka the clones that in both Legends and canon are, that whilst with Rex, he's all like, "No, I can't kill my own Jedi," and he resists. And then you have Cody, who's all like, "Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to kill Obi-Wan, but he was a traitor, and I had to follow orders, so." But he's keeping
Yeah.
himself up at night. And then you have people like Commander Bakara and Commander Neo who are all like, yeah, I killed my Jedi commander, and I'll do it again. I loved it. Screw the Jedi. You want to see a series of 3 episodes revolving around one of those clones?
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. I think Tales of the Clone Trooper or clones like Tales of the Republic or whatever would be really fun. I also think it'd be kind of interesting to see Tales of the Separatist.
Yep.
Kind of see more from their perspective what's going on and kind of follow their backstory. Maybe one on General Grievous would be really interesting to kind of see his origin story and where he came from. I think that'd be pretty powerful.
Yeah, because I don't think he got nearly as much focus and time dedicated to him in the Clone Wars series as he should have.
No, not at all. He was kind of ignored for a long time.
Yeah, and maybe give us like maybe show us some more screen time for like some of the members of the Separatist Council, like the I can't remember their names, but those like we didn't really see much of the two aliens that were the heads of the Corporate Alliance and Commerce Guild. So maybe we could get more stories revolving around them. Like maybe they were starting to doubt what the separatists were doing near the end of the war. Like there's definitely a lot of potential here. Like I'm honestly, even though not everything is great, I feel like this Tales series does open up the door for giving backstories and just some cool moments for action to some characters that you didn't that might be a lot deeper than you might think.
Yeah.
So Dave Filoni, in the unlikely event that you're actually listening to this, please keep up with this Tales series because
Yeah.
it's really good work.
Yeah, I think those are good ideas. And no, Dave, if you're listening, please, please do these things.
Yep.
Also, for the Tales of the Droid, I would love to see more like interactions with some of the droids that didn't really get a lot of screen time together, like R2 and Chopper, or what was that droid's name in Rebels? AP9?
Yeah, AP9.
Yeah, I would love to see like an AP9 spin-off. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, and R2 and Chopper would be really funny together. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think those would be great. But you'd need like subtitles or something.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like it could work as long like I mean with our human shopper definitely. Just try not to make it too much like that big astromech arc in season what was it, five? Yeah, season I think that was season five of Clone Wars. Because that okay, it's not terrible, but
Yeah.
it's definitely not one of Clone Wars' better arcs.
Now, I will say another thing that we should really get. So, as many of you know in the podcast that listen to us regularly, um, I liked the Acolyte fairly well. I thought it was not a bad season. It just needed more.
Yeah.
Um, but that huge drop at the end, revealing Darth Plagueis for the first time, and now we're not going to get any more on him. That opens the door for Tales of the Sith. Like
Yeah, I was about to say that.
have a thing for Darth Plagueis to have like his own origins. Like how did he interact with what was his name? Kimmer?
Uh I think so.
Yeah. Like have something there, like just kind of building up how Kimmer fell to the dark side, Plagueis, and maybe like even have Plagueis kind of meeting Darth Sidious. Like we could
You could probably do like two different story arcs where you had the first one revolve around Camille and Plagueis kind of working together, and then maybe have that end with Camille and Plagueis kind of having that inevitable moment where the master and the apprentice fight against each other. I mean, obviously Plagueis won because he has to take on Palpatine as his apprentice. And then
yeah.
then he takes on Palpatine, and we can see what his training like with Palpatine was, but maybe have the Palpatine stuff of Plagueis be a bit more not downplayed, but just a bit more on like the side role, and you can see Palpatine how he ultimately became this Sith Lord, killed Plagueis, and then we see how he slowly developed this plan to rule the galaxy all the way up to when he became this big, popular, and beloved senator in Naboo. And then you could just end it there because we know what's going to happen after that. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely some ideas. So, Dave Filoni, if you're listening to this, and we certainly hope that you are, although you're probably not, uh,
One can hope.
make this stuff happen. We would love it.
Yeah. Um, Another fun one could be Tales of the Smugglers and have something with Lando Calrissian and maybe Hondo as like another one.
Yeah, Calrissian.
Yeah. Yeah, Lando and Hondo would be really fun to have
Yeah.
like something.
Yeah, maybe stuff revolving around Kira, that girl played by
Oh,
Emilia Clarke from the
dude, I
Solo movie.
forgot about her. Yes, do
Yeah.
it. Though
Although
I
at the
feel like
very
she's
least,
gonna good.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I feel like she might get more prominence in the Darth Maul TV still coming up.
Yeah, definitely.
So that might it's the scratch there.
Yeah. But yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end. Tales of the Underworld, very good show. You should definitely check it out. It's definitely not going to be for everyone, but I would say that it's a solid addition to this entry to the Star Wars animated content, and it's still not quite as good as Tales of the Jedi, but I personally enjoyed it a little bit more than Tales of the Empire. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one, whenever it's going to be. Hopefully, it'll be next year or 2 years
Probably
from
May
now.
4th.
But was that?
Probably May 4th.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the next year,
Yeah.
or 2 years from now, something like that. But yeah. So to give a bit of an announcement, I do have a, book review to be put together for us to get that posted, and then we're going to move on to very big, long trend of Clone Wars related content. We're going to be reviewing two novels, all the animated series stuff, all leading up to us getting to Revenge of the Sith to finish up reviewing the prequel trilogy. We're definitely looking forward a lot to that. I'm personally looking forward to revisiting Clone Wars season 7 because I got a
Yeah.
very positive rant to go on. Positive rant. Let me make that clear to go on when we get to that content. But yeah, we got a lot of great stuff planned for you guys. For 2025, we're still going to be posting content regularly. So yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this one. Definitely check out Tales of the Underworld. Check out our other stuff. And we'll see you guys next time when we return to review the Clone Wars novel Brotherhood. But until then, we hope you guys all stay safe and bye for now.